Hello, and you're welcome to yet another edition of Clevenard Open Project Discussion on Clevenard Social Networking Platform, where we discuss Africa on behalf of Africans in diaspora. All right, on Clevenard.com, social networking platform, we hope to raise awareness in your community. Please remember to sign up with us on www.clevenard.com. All right, my name is Frank Alidemundia, and we are still discussing business opportunities in the African diaspora market. And my guest this morning are Honorable Moses Kilakati, who is a former Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Eswatini. You're welcome to the program, sir.
I'm pleased to be amongst the important guests here. Thank you.
Good to have you with us once again. All right, I'll also have Ms. Cesarina Nasirumbi, who is a marketing manager at Kenya Diaspora Alliance. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Franca. Pleased to be here as well.
Good to have you. And then lastly, I have Aero King. He's an executive chairman and African Resources. You're welcome to the program, sir. Hello, Sir King.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry, my mic was off. My apologies.
Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Right. We are discussing business and tourism opportunities in the Africa diaspora market. But this morning, I'd like us to start with the definition of tourism. So let's get an overview of what tourism is all about. I'd like to start with the Honorable Minister, sir.
Thank you very much. Tourism is wide, but tourism is actually looking at the movement of people from one place to the next, enjoying what you find in that particular place, be it culture, be it the beaches, be it the sand, be it diversity, be it the museums, etc., be it the health, be it the agri-tourism, etc. So it's a wide range of things that are associated with tourism. But in most cases, it's about one person moving from one place to the next. It could be domestic or it could be international. And that's how tourism is defined. I hope I got it right.
You're right, sir. But let's get to here. Thank you so much for that. That's a good one. But let's take the same question around because others might have a different opinion than what you just said. And Sir King, let's get to hear your definition of the word tourism because most of the time. Okay, go ahead, please.
No, sorry, I think it was very well covered by Moses, but basically tourism is a social, cultural, and economic phenomenon which entails the movement of people geographically or within a country or internationally across borders. And tourism now has many other characteristics to it. Before, it was more scenic tourism, visitors going from place to place to admire God's work and God's architecture. Now you have a multiplicity in the definition of tourism, whereby you have business tourism taking place, and a lot of tourism comes through the business community, moving and transacting throughout the geographic sphere. You've got medical tourism also, which is now becoming more current, especially between the third world and Asian countries, where a lot of our people not having the medical facilities in country decide to travel out of country to seek medical facilities. And of course, it transcends to even leisure tourism. We have golf tourism taking place here in Kenya. It's one of the important segments that has given rise to facilities, and that is growing on. But more and more, there's a lot of social interaction and cultural tourism taking place, getting to understand each other in Africa and our different practices. Yeah, whether at the village, at whatever level, whether in urban formations. So the tourism now has evolved with time as countries have become more global in appearance. So tourism can be defined in so many ways now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I hope I've not broken the law of ladies first. I'll come down to you now, Mrs. Arena. So let's get to hear your view. How do you rate, how do you define tourism?
Well, I think it's been well captured by His Excellency Moses and Sir Errol King. There's all sorts of tourism. It's just movement of human beings from one place to another for leisure, pleasure, business, or what have you. And they are not going there to stay. They're actually going to go back to where they came from. So I think one of the areas I would like to bring to light is people also move. Part of cultural tourism that we have is also includes sports and the arts and all those events that we come up with. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Our opinions are almost alike. And I'd like to take the question back to Honorable Moses, sir. All right, you've been a former tourism minister. All right, and you've seen so many things in African tourism that most people are not even aware of. Now, let's get to rates. All right, the level of African tourism, how far have we gone in the areas of constraints, the benefits, and all that as it relates to and the positions you've had earlier?
Africa has not yet been fully exploited, as the definition of tourism has been clearly explained by one of the things that we need to realize is that when it comes to tourism or tourists, we are competing for the same basket, and the basket is increasing. Fortunately, we know that we're just fresh from the COVID-19 effects, where there was just no movement, even within countries. Sometimes at some point. But we're coming a long way. And one of our major challenges has been is that we have not been able to market, particularly Africa, because I'm an African, so I'll talk about Africa. We have not been able to market ourselves very well. We have not been able to market ourselves as regions. We've not been able to market ourselves as a continent. Yet, when you look at a tourist, let me for this instance talk about those outside of Africa, coming outside of Africa. At the end of the year, when they sit and reflect on what they've done, they check their passports, because there is that obligation that you need to stamp a passport if you get into a particular country. And they want to check how many countries did I visit. So what usually happens is, if they come to a particular country, they come to, say, Kenya, for example, they will want to understand and appreciate what is obtaining in Uganda, what is obtaining in Tanzania. Now, what we lack as Africa when it comes to the promotions is the complementarity between or amongst countries. What I've seen is that we tend to compete, yet the tourist doesn't want to compete. He wants to enjoy from country A to country B, particularly if they are adjacent to each other. So that has been our major challenge when it comes to marketing. I recall one time we came up with a program where we're saying Eswatini, South Africa, Botswana, etc., we need to come together. We even started a program where we signed agreements with South Africa, such that if the tourists come to South Africa, we say, look, here is a bouquet of activities or events that you can also enjoy or nourish in these other countries. In this case, I was talking about Eswatini. We are very good when it comes to culture. We're saying, look, let them enjoy whatever they have there, but for them to enjoy cultural activities, let them come to Eswatini. So these were but some of the things that we're trying to put together. We then brought in Mozambique, where again we said, look, when you go to Mozambique, we have got most beautiful sea. And so that was now complementing each other. Now, to what extent can this be extended to other regions, to Africa as a whole? I think that's what we need to understand and unpack, because each of these various countries, they have got a unique, something that would be unique about that particular country, which tourists would then enjoy. But use it from this country, that country, and it combines all of that, then you will have a full bouquet by the end of the year.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable. We'll actually do more on that, which is complementary and between African countries. When we get to that, I want to hear Ms. Caesarina's view, all right, in assessing the African tourism industry, all right, against the backdrop of the explanation or the definition we've given earlier on what tourism is all about. Let's get to hear your view.
Okay, from where I stand, how I see the African tourism industry is just like His Excellency has mentioned, it's greatly underutilized, if I could put it that way. And I want to focus more on the intra-African tourism as well, not just people from outside Africa coming in, but also Africans touring other African nations. We need to market ourselves better because, let me be honest, we have the most beautiful beaches. That's why people from the West actually come to our countries for holidays. We have so many iconic structures, iconic history, settlements that are so interesting for people to know about and to be aware of. And then in the modern world, we've got a lot of good things that are happening, the technology cities you have. In Kenya, we have the Silicon Savannah, and we get people from everywhere in the world coming. Why not get Africans coming to Africa as well? Know what the Silicon Savannah is all about. How do you build one in your own country and all that kind of stuff. Then we've got a lot of sporting events as well that happen actually within the continents that, if you have the right marketing strategy, the right branding strategy, these are big time investments that can actually bring in a lot of money for Africa by Africans. And you can imagine what happens when now the rest of the world catches up and wants to do the same thing as well, tour Africa for all these things. So I think we need to broaden the scope of how we brand our tourism in Africa so that we attract not just ourselves as well, but also everybody from around the world, because it has economic benefits as well.
Thank you so much for that. But your camera is somehow frozen from my side. I do hope it's not interrupting the production. Because maybe if you can just invite the next question to Mr. Sir King. I still need you to give an overview of how do you see it of the African tourism industry as against the backdrop explanations or definitions you give about tourism.
Yeah, thank you, Franca. Well, a very vivid explanation has been given by the Honourable, supported by Caesarina. My years in Africa, I was originally born in the Caribbean, in the small island known as Antigua. So my first conscious awakening of life were the blue waters and beautiful blue waters of the Caribbean, whereby I would enjoy my youthful days, seeing tourists interact with the local people at the village level. And that's one segment of tourism, which is beach tourism. Over the years, as you travel the world, the tourist product becomes a lot more segmented and specialized. As I said before, you've got business tourism, leisure tourism, and all sorts of different segments of tourism. I think in Kenya, and I can speak for Kenya, though I've traveled to many African countries, I think we need to look at the product and the market segmentation for the tourism, for tourism as a whole. It is no longer an approach whereby you have enclave tourism where tourists come from elsewhere, particularly Europe, and they sit on a beach for 10 days, get the sun on their skin and get a nice brown tan and go back. There's a lot more which our countries have to offer. And in Kenya in particular, in the early days, we overinvested in tourism, beach tourism, and significantly overinvested because, the substitution effect was felt much later on as tourists now found other destinations, particularly in Asia, and I'm talking about Thailand in particular. Thailand took away the glare of the beach tourism we had in Kenya then, when a lot of hotels, a lot of infrastructure was simply put in place in an enclave manner to support European tourists, charter flights, etc., etc. We have grown wise over the years, and we've seen really we may have beaches, and beaches could be complementary or secondary, could be of complementary or secondary interest. The real product we have in our country, in Africa, in Kenya, is our natural endowment from the Almighty. We have game parks with animals that are not to be found anywhere else in the world. The Serengeti in Tanzania, and by extension, the Masai Mara in Kenya, which is the northern Serengeti segment, host a myriad of animals not to be found anywhere else in the world. And we have not handled our game reserve properly, because it's not only the Masai Mara. We have several game parks in Kenya. In the coastal area, we have Tsavo National Park, and we have other conservatory areas which are natural habitat for wildlife. And there's no zoo in Europe that can accommodate the population and the variety of wildlife we have in their natural habitat in Kenya. I think this is where we need to style up, and instead of trying to unpack tourism rollout in terms of numbers, we do it in terms of specialization and segmentation of the tourism product on offer. And as we interact with the rest of the world, a businessman coming to Kenya would want, hey, can I go and visit a game park? Can I fly into the Masai Mara and spend the night? Or can I go to Tsavo National Park, which is a beautiful national park, which is on the coastline with Mombasa, where it's 20, 30, 40 kilometers from the beach, where they can enjoy both the natural beauty of the country and the wildlife, and of course, go and spend a day or two on the beach. Juxtaposed with that, and we're very fortunate in Kenya, we have 3 mountains. Mount Kilimanjaro, which was given over to Tanzania during the time when Tanganyika was a German protectorate. It was given by Queen Victoria to her nephew, Wilhelm Kaiser, but it did not shift. So part of it still straddles over into Kenya. And, it's a mountain, glacier top mountain, which attracts a lot of visitors from worldwide. We have also Mount Kenya, which we call our spiritual mountain, because local folklore has it that it was where God rested on the 7th day when creating the earth. So it's called the tabletop mountain of God. Yeah. and it carries a lot of mystery, I can assure you. And those fellows in Europe, particularly the British, are very, very clear as to the import and the spiritual nature of Mount Kenya. They actually have a base, a military base on the foothills, on the slope of Mount Kenya, which the King of England recently visited on his journey to England. Yeah, and then we have Mount Elgon, which straddles Uganda and Kenya. And those well packaged are beautiful, beautiful tourist products to on board, and have activities around the mountains and growth of all different types of activities down below, because in mountains with glacier, melted glacier are a source of many activities, including wide fishing. We grow a lot of trout fish around where the glacier is melted, because the trout fish grows in a very cold waters. We have wide water rafting. We have many activities, horse riding, golfing. All these activities can be captured within the ecosystem of the mountain range. So I think it's the same with a lot of African countries. We have unutilized tourism products, which we need to package. And because it falls within an ecosystem, the attention to those facilities will grow with the interaction in business and cultural areas. And I know businessmen, once they've finished their work in a country, they want to enjoy a couple of days seeing what the country has to offer, and it will bring them back again. I used to be a frequent visitor to Brazil, and I would always travel on Ethiopian Airways to some destination in West Africa. And from there, I would take the varied flight to Brazil, to Rio. But my time, I had spent a lot of time in Senegal, in Dakar, Cote d'Ivoire. I spent time in Nigeria. I got to understand Africa by transiting. Instead of going by Europe, I transited through Africa. So my point is that we really need to appreciate what we have. We have a more targeted approach to the products that that are unique to our particular countries and geographical areas, and let's see how we can propel those and now have an interaction with the rest of Africa. I'm going to Nigeria to look at this. I'm coming to Kenya to see whatever wildlife or whatever. But within that ecosystem, there are other interactions taking place. For example, business, for example, culture, for example, exchanges among school children, etc., etc. We're building an understanding and appreciation for each other's environment. Thank you.
Africa is so blessed. Thank you for that. Africa is so blessed with so many tourism products at the same time destinations, which we are not taking advantage of. But there's one thing I want to bring out in what you just said: the different safaris, the different tourist locations, the mountains, and all that. But then let's take a look at the product itself, which is the city tours. All right, city tours as a product. All right, in developing the country. All right, I will need Ms. Cesarina to come in there. What is the role of city tours in building and developing the African continent?
Okay, the city tours, they're essential actually, and looking at it from this perspective where I'm coming from, just being a local, I think if every city in Africa has that kind of a tourism organization, that we have particular interests, we know which city is strong in what, we know which town is strong in what, and we organize tourism packages for these kind of events, these kind of cities, I think that goes a long way. Especially, it makes a lot of sense, especially for people that want to do business tourism, because you're able to sell exactly what you're coming to see and exactly what opportunities are offered in these particular cities. So it becomes very important to have that. And I'd like to give an example of my city, Nairobi City. So we had this Africa Climate Summit just a couple of months back. I think it's 2 months ago. And together with the summit, there are packages for tourism across the country. So you're coming to the city, you're learning about the city, the summit is in the city, you get to know what strengths we have in the city, what opportunities we have in the city and all that. And within all these things, you're being told about it because what you're actually getting exposed to, which is say it makes more sense to the people who are doing business tourism because they get to see the opportunities that are actually there. And then you're now told, okay, now if you want to expand your portfolio, now you can go into the beaches, go to the lions, go to that. And the good thing about our city, Nairobi City, is we are the only city in the world that has a park. The air, when you're coming in by air, when you're landing at the airport, it's just adjacent to the park. You're actually seeing the park when you're landing. Yeah. So these are things that can be harnessed to increase tourism, especially for those who are interested in more of the developmental aspects of Africa. How do I want to plug in and all that? City tours play a big role in this one, I think.
All right, thank you. Honorable Sir, do you have any addition to what she just said? The importance of city tours.
Yes, I've throughout the world making huge impacts when it comes to tourism. Because within cities you get the history, the museums of this world, the parks. But I think what is now attractive to tourists is the issue of eco cities, because people are becoming more and more aware of the importance of climate change, global warming. As I stated when I started, I said it's just about 40 degrees Celsius here, and it's very, very hot. So these are things that affect whosoever comes to a particular city, a particular country. To what extent are we amenable to the new narrative, the new dimensions that are affecting us? Personally, for a particular city, first I look at how it's configured, and then I look at the cleanliness, because the issue of cleanliness becomes very, very vital. And then I look at to what extent integrating the greening of that particular city, because as we're talking about the future here, our kids, etc. Most of us will not be here in 30 years' time, but the future, find a better place where they can survive and thrive, and they would be saying, who was there at that time? What did that person do? But I wanted to touch base again on the issue of the marketing, because we are not able to come up with very good products. I think Mauritius has done generally well in that regard. They're able to give you a 10-day itinerary, 20 days itinerary. And sometimes that you thought, this I should not even be advertising, but they are able to capture those. I think we need in our tourism space, in our ministries, in our tourism associations, good marketing people, but also those who are innovative, because people do not want to come to a particular city. They find one and the same thing, even if they come back. Because what we usually tend to find is that the tourists that make an impact are the returned ones. Those ones that return, they've been there, they come through maybe a word of mouth, through nowadays websites, social media, etc. Then they start telling others. But then, if they've been taken good care of by that particular city, by that particular country, then they will come back and they will attract others. So I think there's also that missing link. I think the last one, besides cleanliness, greening, is the one of how to take care of a tourist. You know, it's a very important thing because the first impression lasts. Get to a particular
Exactly.
place, there's no one who's going to show you around, there's no tour operator, there's this and that, or the tour operator is not well conversant with what is obtaining. I used to have a colleague of mine who said when he went to Singapore for the first time, got into a taxi. The taxi was able to tell that individual that in this city, this is what you will obtain. A taximan, this is not just an operator. This is what you will obtain. This is how it's when it was built. Museums are here. The shisanyamas, we like shisanyamas these days, frying, etc. This is where you get it. And be careful of this place here. This and that. This is a taximan. He'll also be able to tell you about the country, basically, its economy. For example, what is the national plan? What is the future of the city? What is the future of the country, etc., etc. These are but some of the things that go a long way to saying to the person, you are warmly welcome, but this is the vision that we're taking our countries to. And I think if we can do that, we'll go a long way. For example, like I touched on the issue of taxes. There are very few countries now which have got taxes that are marked in a particular manner, because, you know, we need to be careful here. You think that that's a taxi and yet it's somebody to rob you. And that will now kill that city's tourism sector. Because if it's somebody who's robbing a tourist, he will tell others, and in no time, it will just multiply. Yeah, I can speak forever.
It's all right, sir. Thank you so much. We are camera. I don't know his scope is not aspect production. And even his Arina's camera is also your good now. But Mrs. Arena, hello, Mrs. Arena. Wow.
Hello, I can hear you.
Yeah, your camera is frozen, but I just think it's not affecting the production of this series. But it's okay because I can hear you as well. And one of the points that Sir King and the Honorable mentioned is the act of packaging and marketing African destinations. All right. I'll need to have you come in here. All right. How do we begin? Whose responsibility is it to market and package Africa? And then what is the role of the media in achieving these feats?
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start from the back. The role of the media is to inform, and the media plays a very big role with how people, the perceptions that people have. So take it, for instance, like for maybe if you have a state television network or the most popular television network in a country, it becomes very important to use these media to actually popularize the tourism in the country and not.
Hello. I think we've lost that there. Sir King, please, we need to. Yeah, it's a camera.
Internet has dropped.
Yeah, I think so. All right, Sir King, please, can you take over from there? Let's get to hear the role of the media in packaging and marketing destinations in Africa.
Yeah, the role of the media is very, very important. The commentary it makes about the political system in the country affects the perception of tourists and people living elsewhere who have an appetite for visiting and participating in activities, tourism activities geographically. Perceptions that the media gives are very important. What we need to counter a lot of the negativity that comes out in the media is the branding of the products that are on offer. We need to ensure that branding is robust, sustains itself over time, and the image given of the area and of African countries remain strongly focused on the tourism product. People go to Florida, they flock to Florida every year, I'm told. And people are killed and shot in Florida like no visitors are killed and shot, but you don't hear about it. Yeah, it's so much absorbed because the media does not promote that. But if a visitor came to an African country and there was an untoward incident, then that will now grab the front page, and probably security advices will be given out that you cannot visit this country because on a particular street on a particular day there was an untoward incident which was fortuitous. So we need our own robust African tourism branding, where we need to institutionalize it in a way so we can cushion ourselves from the effects of this negativity that comes out, because oftentimes it is used to restrict the flow, because tourism in Europe is a very big product, and Southern European countries, Greece and many others, are highly dependent on tourism as a percentage of their GDP for sustainable livelihoods. So in Africa now, we must start identifying the negative factors that fit into the metrics of prohibiting a positive attitude and a positive flow of tourism towards the African countries. So branding is important. We need to agree how we're going to brand each particular country, at least as a start. Yeah, I see South Africa has gone a long way in doing that. South Africa has taken away a lot of the safari traffic from Kenya, because the Kruger National Park has been branded as the Maasai National Park. They come to South Africa and see the Maasai National Park in Kruger National Park. That's how it's marketed. I think our brother there smiled because he knows that's what happens. And because our products are not patented, we lose out on any intellectual property that we can call our own. So we need, as a continent, as a nation, to come together and agree what aspects of our tourism products, which are so particular and special to that geographic area, we can brand and call our own. So, there are things in West Africa which are very specific and special to West African countries. The same thing in East Africa. We have very special features here, which we need to ensure that are properly branded and we don't lose out on the value. And we can unlock the value of our tourism products in a way that will help to strengthen the contribution of tourism to our economic situation.
Thank you, Mr. King, and welcome back, Cesarina. I'm going to have you back. I hope the internet is.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
I also need you to add, to contribute to what Sir King just narrated about the place and the role of the media actually the tourism. Because we here are living at our main focus. When we are living into the entire kind of Kenya and is the most development. Now, what do you think let's have yes, how important to be able to make use yes
Apologies.
no.
Yeah, I'm having serious challenges.
Wow, that's right.
Following what you're saying.
Thanks all. So sorry about that. All right, my question is this. I did make mention of Clevenard.com, which is this online platform, all right, about it being dedicated to the cause of creating awareness for the African tourism sector. But surprisingly, we are not having most Africans coming on board to utilize what we are freely given to the entire continent. We want to like be able to bring the entire diaspora down to Africa so that we can begin to see development in this sector, considering the fact of the products and the tourism destinations we have in the play. So I still need to ask to the question I asked Ella, which is the place of the media in achieving.
The media is certainly very, very crucial. We need to be hearing a lot about Africa and the beauty of Africa and all the opportunities that are available in Africa. I'll give an example. One of the media houses, international media houses, some years back said a story, and our people were not happy about that. So we called them out on Twitter. And the reason why this is important is because what people get fed on all the time is what they kind of take as a norm. So if we feed on the beauty of Africa and the uniqueness of our cultures, the uniqueness of our countries, and all these sites to visit and these things to explore within to people, that helps them make that decision. So the media plays a very, very, very key role in this. How do you portray ourselves? We don't need to be talking about the problems all the time. Yes, they should be fixed. But when we're talking about Africa, talk about the beauty, talk about the people, talk about the culture, talk about the uniqueness that we have in the continent. So the media has to take this up. We have to sing our praise. Nobody's going to sing our praise. We sing it ourselves. So let's sing it. The microphone, sorry, your on the platform. Sorry, I think your microphone is muted on the app. You need to check the mic.
Yeah.
Well, that was strange because I'm using.
It's muted again.
I think it could be the connection. Just check your connections and see.
Yeah, it's probably the connection because
Okay. Wow. Sorry for the distractions and all that, but we're still on the discussion and it's getting exciting, getting more interesting. We were discussing before about media, and I did mention, for example, a platform like Clevenard.com, all right, that is being designated for this particular opportunities. We are not even having Africans or just African taking advantage of our offering. All right. Let me get your message on what we are doing, at least you guys deserve just an answer now. What is your view on Cleveland?
Can you be close to your mic?
Yeah, you got to come closer to your mic. Yeah.
Hi, now. Can you hear me now?
It's better.
That's better.
Wow.
Otherwise, what you said, we didn't hear anything.
We didn't hear you. We saw your gesticulations, but we didn't get much of it.
Wow. Okay, let's not drag it. Let's not drag it any longer. But let's just get your view on Clevenard.com, my platform, which has been dedicated to the cause of African tourism, creating awareness for African tourism. What is your take on what we do here? Zarina, please.
Well, I actually am applauding you guys for the work you're doing. I've gone through your site. It has so much information. I love the content on it. It's positive content about Africa. You know, you're going to love being an African when you go there. So this is what really needs to be trending. You know, these are the things that we need trending. Platforms like Clevenard and just singing what is going on right in Africa, not negative news. We need the positive news. And here we do want change in a lot of things, but that doesn't negate the fact that we actually have a very, very beautiful culture, very, very beautiful continent, a lot of wonderful people, and a lot of nice things that are going on. So I really love your platform. Yeah.
Thank you for the compliment. All right, the interview continues. And Honorable Sir, my question will be directed at you. All right, we've made mention of the different opportunities in the tourism sector in Africa. All right, there are some numerous that somehow we feel, how do we put it now? Should we say God made a mistake in giving us all these destinations and order because we are not utilizing what exactly we have? All right. Now, my question is this: how can the various opportunities be annexed productivity and development in Africa? Honorable Sir.
I'm actually no longer following, and yet there's something. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll tell the question again, please. I said African is blessed with so much destinations, all right, and then products, and then tourism attractions and all that. But unfortunately, we are not getting what we ought to be getting from this sector, all right. So my question is how can the various opportunities be annexed for productivity? Did you get that, sir?
Yeah, in drips and drops, maybe somebody else can to answer. Then I'll probably follow from that. But like I said, so I'm not sure. Let me hear from colleagues because they probably have.
It's all right. It's all right. So, Sir King.
Yeah, that's a leading question and very strategically placed at this juncture. I think, you know, we've always had to look at the status of African economies, where we are, how strong the economies are to actually support its population. And we have to go back to basics. I think once we start learning how to feed ourselves, self-sufficiency comes into the equation very strongly. It means that we're on the pathway to dignifying ourselves. Yeah? And with that dignity comes the opportunity now to express yourself as an African in whatever sphere you would like to express yourself. So tourism is part of that ecosystem. The tourism product will grow stronger, will grow as the African economies grow stronger, and we're able to stand on our own feet by exploiting our agricultural, our mineral, and then where tourism falls, our natural resources, in order to propel an image, a modern image of our Africanity. Because we're all proud of Africa. I'm of African descent. I'm often termed a historic diasporian, which makes me feel like a crocodile or some reptile from yesteryear. But whatever connotations it may have, that's who I am. And that's why I feel I came to Africa so many decades ago, because I want to be part of this transformation. I want the African in me to stand up and make a statement that I can see the difference between the time I arrived and where I am now. And I'm very proud that we are on the right pathway. We need to share a common view, share a common vision about how we're going to Africanize our economy and strengthen it, and tourism will grow as a result. How to ensure that our minerals, these precious minerals that the world is crying out for and continues to divide Africa to get our minerals, how we can have a way of now unlocking the value of those minerals for ourselves through whatever it takes. If it's beneficiation, whatever form of value addition we need to have, we need to sit around the table and have that conversation, because our economic growth will precipitate from the productivity of the land, of the minerals which we have in our country. And tourism sits as a unique product because tourism was crafted by the hand of God. So that will not change. Yeah. But how to unlock that value for the African society, for our African people, is going to be a leading question that we have to answer ourselves as Africans. Thank you.
Can I just come in here, because I just want to chicken out a bit?
Yeah, please.
There's something that we touched on, I think, on tourism and business. And I don't think we talked about it very well. That if we look at Africa in general, the tourism attractions and products are there, but they are not enough. It is because of the attraction of others who come there and say, here is an opportunity. I think that is what we need to exploit. Because yes, we've got places where people can put up for 1 night, 2 night hotels. Now there's Airbnbs, there are chalets, there are lodges. But I think this is work in progress, which still needs to be nurtured to make sure that whosoever comes there is comfortable, because the issue of comfort is important. It's one thing to put your head on a pillow. It's another to say, was I comfortable when I was in that particular place? So I think we need somewhere to make sure that whosoever comes has a lasting memory to say, I will come back. Tell somebody else that, hey, that place there is the place to be. The other aspects on the media, media usually sell what I'll just use pidgin English. What is sellable? So what is sellable is bad news, terrible news about Africa. And we need to change that narrative. How I wish.
Sorry for coming there, sir. And that is the narrative that Clevenard.com is trying to change.
Exactly. That's why I'm getting there. I'm saying I'm very excited because that's the narrative that is being done by Clevenard, so that that narrative is changed. It won't be a walk in the park. It won't be within a short period of time, because we are so used to buying, hey, who bombed whatever country, who bombed whatever town, who did what, there's this and that. Then we forget about the good things about that city. We talked about the country, about whatever, which is something that we now need to know our reporters, our scribes, because what they're used to what we want to see as we move forward. I would propose, if it's possible, that as part of, maybe we could have some editors, 3 or 4 or 5, bring them under one roof, like we are doing with brands, and say, good people, why aren't we marketing tourism in Africa so that we can create a better Africa with high GDP, where people start flowing? Is it out of this world? So that they can tell us from their point of view. But what I know, the least I know, is that when we engage them, they say, who is going to buy that? That's why it's hidden in all these newspapers, from east to west in Africa, north to south, whatever. When we talk about tourism, it's right in the middle of the page, under entertainment or whatever. In the front, it's about what is happening, what's this and this, the negative part, the things that other people just want to hear. So we need to have that mindset change. But also, we could even, instead of going to the reporters or scribes, we could even actually train this, because it's probably starting from there, where it says, what is sellable to the audience, and how do you create and become innovative to make sure that other things that can bring better GDPs, etc., for particular countries are also at the front of the pages. Good people, my apologies. I just have to run.
All right, thank you so much for that. And if I did get anything from it, network is not in our favor this morning, certainly. But I did get one or two things about you said, which is marketing and African products. You did made mention of schools. You made mention of hospital. I think Mr. King made mention of other products we have in Africa as well. But you agree with me that if Africans rather has to be able to compete each other to be able to achieve what we are all trying to build. All right. So, what is the place of African countries complementing each other for we to be able to achieve our aims and objectives? Ms. Cesarina, please let's get to the question back to you, Honorable Sir, and then Dr. Sir King. But let's get to hear Cesarina's view. Is that right? Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Is that right? So, Ms. Cesarina, please.
Kindly repeat the question. It was a little bit breaking on my end.
Wow, I don't even know what is wrong with our network this morning. We're talking about complementing African countries, complementing each other to be able to sell our tourism destinations and products.
Complementary, sorry?
Yeah, African countries complementing each other, as in working hand in hand. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, actually, I just saw an announcement yesterday in one of the WhatsApp groups that East Africa is actually marketing East Africa as a destination. And it's a new branding that's coming out, I think from the East Africa Business Council, if I'm not wrong. So we as a continent can actually come together and we can market ourselves together. Let me say something just on the side about marketing. It's usually huge budget. That's why it's important that we have government involved in this, because the budget is really huge if you're going to be making all these headlines, working all through the year for the whole continent. So we need a lot of policies that help us to do this, as well as the government authorities that are tasked to do this, and then the cooperation of everybody in the media space, as well as the everything to do with marketing, so that it's a coordinated effort to have everyone's attention to what's good. So your choice. You want and more than what you want. So pick your choice where you want to go. It becomes very interesting because we get to pull the crowd, and yeah, we're the ones who benefit at the end of it all.
All right, thank you so much for that. Sir King, you are the Executive Chairman, Pan-African Mineral Resources. I'd like to take this question at you. What is the role of the private sector? All right, the role of private sectors in growing the African tourism industry.
It's the private sector is very important, and I think in Kenya, the private sector more than government has grown the tourism industry because government basically has provided infrastructure where infrastructure has been required, but the private sector through its partnerships, through its affiliation, has grown the beach tourism product, has grown the game, the wildlife, and natural resources product, and I think, of course, more can be done, but over time, the private sector has found it a very, very lucrative window of opportunity. And in Kenya, the situation is somehow very, very congenial to growing tourism because basically the colonial past left some form of infrastructure, yeah, that we inherited. The beach tourism and the game tourism, it was then only for a small minority because we couldn't access those facilities. But in more recent times, we are seeing that the facilities that were known and appreciated then are also appreciated by our Kenyans and our East Africans coming to enjoy the facilities we have in Kenya. So the private sector is important. What is required now to strengthen private sector participation is government to act more as an enabler, yeah, in creating the right environment to up the tourism numbers. And it starts basically with getting tourists into Kenya. Yes, if you're looking for high-end tourism, making sure that you have an airline structure that is economical, that's competitive, that tourists can feel Kenya is an affordable, West Africa is an affordable destination, wherever it is in Africa is an affordable destination. And we have to come to the recognition that the activity of bringing a tourist from Europe, for example, may not be a profitable activity, but the business that comes with that tourist enables now us to cover our costs and generate the necessary foreign exchange we're looking for. Typically, most African airlines run at a loss, but we should draw cognizance from what has happened in the desert in UAE, where that airline runs as a cost to the business of bringing business tourism and business people into the UAE. So that cost is spread and integrated. I think we need to look at those cost factors and see how we can do complementary pricing on that. Within Africa itself, we need to give more focus to our complementary strengths in terms of business integration, in terms of business ecosystems, whereby we can leverage each other. And I would want, as a preference, to go to a West African country rather than going to a European country for a product that I need or a tourism visit that I may want to interrogate. So we need, again, to feed into how can we incentivize the private sector. Kenya is different from a lot of other countries. I mean, I take the Caribbean, for example. When I grew up there as a young man, 85% of tourism revenue were kept outside of the Caribbean. Yeah, there were so many leakages. Our level of preparedness for tourism was low. But over time, and I'm talking about what tourism consumes, the food, the services required, yeah, I think now in Kenya, we're nearly 100% compliant, so there's no leakage from that tourism revenue. It has to be spent here because the food is not imported, the services are here, the labor is here, the transport is here, and that's where the private sector really needs to style up and make sure the full amount of the revenue that is derived from the tourism activities stays within the country and less is left overseas.
All right, thank you so much, Sir King. Okay. All right. I would like Mrs. Aruna to come on board there. You are also the marketing manager for Diaspora Alliance. All right. So I don't have anything to contribute to what Sir King just said.
Okay, yes. I'm actually in agreement with everything you said, and there is a lot of things that need to be streamlined to ensure that we get the most out of this, especially from the private sector. So if I speak now from the Alliance perspective, because we are associations of Kenyans who are global, they're outside in their countries, working, living and working there, and we come together to champion our interests and issues. When it comes to tourism, just like you mentioned, making sure that the whole process is friendly to whoever is coming to tour, because even as a diaspora and then you're coming back home, actually, in a way, you're actually touring. You're coming back home, but actually more or less somebody who's carrying, you're coming to tour because you're going to go back where you came from. And how to make it pleasant so that everybody chooses to come is very important. Private sector does have a big part to play in this because they are in a position where they should be able to offer all the things to execute how this mandate of making sure tourism is an attractive thing in Africa. They're the ones who implement it, so to speak. So they can come up with solutions that are actually going to be pro-tourism. And just like you gave the example of UAE putting in the costs for the airline as part of the business costs, for the currency investment costs. So it takes away that whole thing of we're making a loss at the airline, it now starts making profit, So tying in all these ends together to help even diasporans come back home and enjoy the whole process of coming back home goes a long way, making sure tourism becomes something very big in Africa.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being my guest this evening. As we round up, I need you, both of you, to leave a message for the leadership for African tourism. Sir King, let's start with you. What is your message to the leaders of African tourism?
African tourism, like any other segment, Africans must talk to each other, not at each other. We must understand that Africa is a creation of the Almighty, and we have a place in this world. We have wonderful places on this continent. Historically, some may have been stigmatized over the years because of the process of slavery and the intense process of colonization which we went through. But we must feel within ourselves that this is our environment. We need to own it. And to start the process going, look historically at what we had. We had great historic features, historic civilizations, and and get our strength from knowing that where we are today, we are on a journey which we're at a certain stage. It did not start here. The screenshot we have of ourselves today must reflect the history of us going forward. So for Africa today, we need to agree on a common pathway, on a vision. We start off by creating African centers of excellence for tourism, and we demarcate that for ourselves. We don't want National Geographic coming to tell us this is a beautiful place. We know what we have In Kenya, we have the Rift Valley, beautiful geological formation from Egypt all the way down to Mozambique. And within that Rift Valley structure, you have magnificent deposits of precious metals and gemstones, as well as lovely lake formation. We have beautiful, and Kenya, for example, again, we have the second largest freshwater lake in the world, in lake which straddles Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. It's in Africa. It is not in anywhere else. Clean fresh water. We have huge hydrological deposits, underground, subterranean sources of water. We have clean riverine sources of water. We have fresh, clean water towers, forest. Yeah, we have the whole architecture that can sustain an African population, and we must highlight these as centers of excellence. We have fallen into the trap that whatever the colonialists left behind is what we are looking at as a center of excellence. We must move away from that. We must have our own eco-cities, clean cities that are environmentally sustainable, and we must have things that demarcate the movement of African people in the time we are living. So this is what it was before, and this is what the African people are doing now for themselves. So that's the message I would like to leave with you, Frank.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Cesarina?
Thank you. So the message I want to leave for African leaders is we are stronger together. Taking advantage of the AfCFTA, it's the Africa-Free Continental Trade Area. This can be a very big booster, especially for tourism. Like awesome. And then the African corridors we're creating, I've seen some of the plans on the way, and it's not yet fully utilized, but we'll have from Cairo to Cape to Cairo, and then from the east to the west, all these corridors that we are creating. They go a long way to increase tourism, especially within Africa. So working together really is the way forward. We cannot close doors to ourselves. Rwanda has opened up doors to all Africans to come and visit. Kenya is following suit. I think that will be next month that we'll have an announcement like that one. And it's good if we as Africans accept Africans as well. So that if I'm in Europe and I decide I'm going to Tanzania, I don't need a visa there. I'm an African. I just go there, they see me, It makes a lot of sense like that. So I know we didn't touch on the policy issue and the visa things, but that's also something if Africa can remove as a restriction, especially for Africans, then you're gonna start seeing the African Americans coming home. They want a home. Everybody, the Afro-Caribbeans, the Afro-Indians, they all want to come back home. So when we remove some of these restrictions, it becomes very easy for them to come and identify with home. So that would be my take home, as well as we do have our events, the Kenya Diaspora Homecoming Convention. That's happening from the 6th of December to the 8th of December, and we are having Kenyan diaspora as well as African diaspora coming for the convention. And it's just to network and learn from each other and have conversations like these ones that will help advance ourselves. So I welcome you all. Thank you.
So what is the destination for that event?
There?
Destination.
Okay, it's at the Safari Park Hotel, Nairobi, Kenya.
Yeah. That's a good plan. Thank you so much. We're actually supposed to discuss on the policy, but Honorable Commissioner left and the conversation took a different turn entirely. I do hope maybe you guys can come back on this set together. Let's discuss fully when we have a better network and then get to see one or two things that can be done. All right, but I would like to personally invite you both, all right, to sign up on the Clevenard.com platform, all right, with your companies, and then begin to upload your products and then your destinations as well. It will go a long way in helping not just your company, but also other Africans in diaspora and then even within the African settlements. All right, thank you so much for being my guest this afternoon.
Thank you too. The pleasure's ours.
Thank you very much. God
Once
bless you.
again.
Amen.